Yes, shalom, chaverim. Yeah. I want to share my 2 cents on some foolishness. As one of my good sisters, she said, I want to share my 2 cents, you know, on some foolishness. So, is it the Super Bowl, or the Stupid Bowl, right? I'm talking about the Super Bowl or the Stupid Bowl, right? It's kind of interesting because I really wasn't, so much into it, the bread and the circus of it all, the sports, the bread and circus, But I did see a video that was shared, give thanks to my brother, Yeremiel, heal up, bro, from the ET. A revolution is being televised. And I think it was Eugene from Kenya. Thanks to that video there, somebody shared that about black Americans and Big Shot after like Kendrick, Lamar's his halftime performance. It's kind of interesting, some of the views on that. So the first thing I had to ask, right, I don't have a still of that particular video, but it's Eugene on the YouTube, Eugene from Kenya, in case you want to check out that particular video. So the topic right here is the Super Bowl or the Stupid Bowl, right? The Stupid Bowl, right? I know some ones and ones. I know even a lot of so-called conscious people, woke folk. Remember that guy did the kneeling thing? He was sports, player and everything like that. Yeah. So, so consciousness in sports, consciousness in the bread and circus. So, question here is: will the revolution be intellectualized? Some say that the revolution will not be televised, but they're saying, look, we're seeing it, we're seeing it on TV, so the Super Bowl or the Stupid Bowl, bread and circus, right? The bread and circus. So, right, so what we're talking about right here, right? Sports, American pastime. You ever think about it? The grammar, the grimoire, that's what they call it, spell, right? That's what they call it, spelling, right? A pastime. America is a great pastime. Pastime. What does pastime mean? Well, you can pass time, right? You can pass your time, right? Okay. So it's a great pastime, right? So this video, the video I saw was somebody else's video, and one asked me, when I shared the video with them, right? I was checking it out, and I thought it'd be interesting, just have a little chat on this right here. And they shared some words with me. We shared some words, and we said, you know what? We're going to have to touch on this. And it's not about Kendrick personally, getting into the whole Kendrick or even the whole Israelite perspective. And you could tell on our channel, Rastafari Jews, you know what I mean? You could tell what we saying. We, the black Jews of the Lion of the tribe of Judah, period, right? But on this particular subject matter, Kendrick Lamar, one person had commented about how people say rap music died and how it had to be reborn. And some may see in Kendrick Lamar, some idea of rap or hip hop, or as you say, so-called black, American and black culture, being revived, through what Kendrick Lamar. And there's a whole bunch of commentaries out there on Kendrick Lamar's, the halftime performance, and, what one see in it, or the symbolism. We listened to the video, same Eugene from Kenya, video was kind of interesting. He had different kind of people's comments. So he played different people's comments, and then he gave his kind of comments of their, comments, And so we saw it, and actually at first, probably we normally wouldn't see it, After we got through a brief, discussion and comment back and forth, with a good sister of mine, hopefully we can get our podcast. 'Cause I think we would have a really, really good podcast. Because we agree on principles, but, that perspective, you know what I mean? So please look forward to it. Don't have a name or nothing like that for it, but hopefully when she see it, Melisech Waleta Sion. You can check out her music, though, Waleta Sion, right? Waleta Sion. But that's not the subject matter right here, right? So I said I would let her know what I thought about it, right? So basically, in the video that we saw from Eugene, right, is this African brother, brother from Africa, Eugene from Kenya, right? It's like, he's giving like different people's commentaries on the Kendrick Lamar, Kendrick Lamar performance, and the Kendrick Lamar show at the Super Bowl. And people giving their analysis, so to speak, no pun intended, because the first guy was, right, I think the African guy was listening to what I thought was like a transgender white guy. I could be wrong, but he was explaining the symbolism, the symbolism of Kendrick Lamar's performance. Something about some Squid Game and video game, but I thought it was interesting, his breakdown on it. It was interesting, pointing out things that perhaps I would not have seen or read into it, because it speaks to this generation right now. So a lot of ones are into Kendrick Lamar, the Kendrick and the Drake stuff, back and forth, so forth and so on, and that is interesting in and of itself. But we're commenting right here on the Super Bowl, right, the halftime, the Stupid Bowl. Now people say, why did you call it, Stupid Bowl? Right? Stupid. Well, in these YouTube streets, a lot of people in these YouTube streets, right? The YouTube streets are definitely commenting on it. And even on whether on IG or, on Twitter, they're tweeting, and the X, on X, and definitely on, is TikTok still around? TikTok is still around? I know it's still around, but even on the TikTok. Right? In these YouTube streets. Now, But here's the thing that, I have spoken about before, amongst ones and ones, but I'll share right here, right? And that's about sports, right? How sports in and of itself is a big distraction. Now, the Kendrick Lamar show, I mean, wow, very, very interesting, the colors. Did you know that those colors right there are in the scripture, the Torah colors? These are primary colors, the red, white, and blue, so-called. You say red first, right? The blue, white, and red, or the white, red, and blue, however you want to go in whatever order. We just say red, white, and blue, that these colors are also tabernacle colors, right, in the Mishkan, the holy place, like in the sanctuary, Bamidbar, like say in the wilderness. So we look at the Torah, first 5 books of what's called the Bible, the Old Testament, HaTorah, right, the Torah of Moshe, right? These colors are very important, They're actually Israelite colors. Just want to make that mention right there, in case you have not heard it before, right? It's from Yadon, a.k.a. Ras Ayadonis, right? Rastafari Jews, where you heard it, hopefully first. If you didn't hear it first here, but think about it for a moment. These colors, the red, white, and blue, right? Now I heard that even the Israelites, some of the Hebrew Israelites were out there. I'm not too sure what they were saying, but everybody's probably giving their commentary on it. So we say, you know what? Make some commentary on this as well. So, reading into the symbolism, we got the red, the white, and the blue. And on Eugene from Africa, one of the first videos he had up there, right, with that, with the individual that was, it looked like a white girl, but actually I think it was a white guy. But regardless of that, their not I won't say zeal, but their intense interest. They was interpreting a lot of this in terms of black people, right? So we thought that part was very interesting in their interpretation of these symbols, what you get to see in this, in the halftime performance. But then he shared other videos, right? But to this point right here about sports and the Super Bowl, right? So the Super Bowl halftime show. What's that? LV. Let's see, my Roman numbers are good. 55, 6, 7, 8, 58th Super Bowl. Can you imagine? 58 years now. So we're in something. So when we get on to Super Bowl, Stupid Bowl, right? Stuff. This is like 58-year long tradition, right? But something I've said before, but I'll say again, that sports is and can be a big distraction, especially sports in the sense that, there's this passive sports watch. We watch sports. Nowadays, that's the pastime, watching sports, watching sports. So people sitting down, watching sports. And most folks that sit down and watch sports are either lazy, fat, or drunk, especially Super Bowl. They're lazy, you know what I mean? I didn't say Jay-Z, right? I said lazy, right? Fat, drunk, and not a lot athletic, not very athletic. You know, most folks, you know, like either you watch it or you be about it, right? But this is a big American, right? We call it American pastime, but the roots of it is really deeper, right? So they're just watching. So sports is a big distraction, right? And even a lot of conscious folks be talking about, you know, the sports this, or, you know, they be talking about conscious things, and then, oh, I gotta check out the game. I gotta check out the game, right? And I don't know about you. Maybe that seems normal to you, but something seems a little abnormal about that. Not that a person can't be conscious and then like sports. Of course, you know, people have their their vices. Is it a vice or guilty pleasures? Maybe they're not guilty about it, right? But it's a big distraction, right? And besides, most ones who watch it, at least from what we've seen for all the years that we have noticed sports in America, and when we were younger, we used to check out, you know, sports. Back in the days, we used to watch, yeah, the football, you know, back in the, the Steelers. You remember the Steelers, San Francisco? Were they Steelers, San Francisco? Yeah, but the Steelers back in the, this is how long. I'm not all into it, so I don't even have all this like quite as I used to when I was young. When I was a child, I, you know, thought as a child, acted, you know, did childish things, you know, but then in growing up, you know what I mean? But it is good as far as being athletic and, you know, being in shape, and sports is very healthy for people to actually engage in sports. So we're saying that sports is an excellent activity for ones to actually do. However, you know, this commercialization, this ritualization, you know, that leads to people being so fat, right, and lazy and drunk and stupid. So we say the Super Bowl or the Stupid Bowl, right? And not a whole lot of ones very athletic, right? We're watching athletic people making these grandiose salaries, and yet we are told to sit down and watch, right? To drink, to eat, to so-called, you know, argue, bet, gamble, you know what I mean? And this is something that brings us together. This is something that identifies. Does this identify us? Are we to be identified, you know, by these things, so forth and so on? So, okay, so this Super Bowl right here, just watching, right? Just watching, right? Watching. But it reminded me of something that what was it called? The protocols. I don't know if you've seen the protocols, but this is my point here, right? Give them bread and circuses, and they will never revolt. Sports. So we're on the sports, the general subject matter of sports. And it seems that, you know, many people who are conscious or about the Bible or scripture or prophecy, or even we being like Israelites, so forth and so on, once lost, now found here, even indigenous and all of that, because others are reading this into that. You know, even some said that, hey, they're going to be commenting on this. This was their piece of cake. You know, some people really think this performance, you know, was a piece of cake. Now, we've seen a little bit, but we're going to investigate a little bit more. But generally speaking, you know, our principal conclusions are right and accurate. Give them bread and circuses, and they will never revolt. But some are saying, no, you see the symbolism. You know, you have to peep all the symbolism that's going on. But I say, wait. Isn't the wise saying, right? Because remember that the bread and circus is nothing new, right? The bread and circus is nothing new, right? Or was it Decimus, Iunius, Venalis, or Juvenalis, right? Junius Juvenalis, right? Known as Juvenile, right? So the one who said this right here, his name was Juvenile. Keeping even grown men, right, and many of their women, they go along with it because they want to, you know, like women have learned about sports because they want to be able to share that time with the men and with the boys, you know what I'm saying, with the boys, right? So the evil was not in bread and circus, right? Just want to point this out, not in bread and circus. So we're not saying that the evil's in sports. So some people might get the idea that, oh, he's saying the evil's in sports because maybe he's not that athletic. Well, not as athletic as I was, but you know what? Definitely, you know, we have to stay fit as we get older. Older men, take care of your health, right? But the evil was not in bread and circuses per se, but in the willingness of people to sell their rights as free men. for full bellies. Their belly full, but them hungry. A hungry man is a angry man. They were willing to do what? So notice that the evil was not in the bread and circus per se, but in the willingness of the people to sell their rights as free men for full bellies and the excitement of the games, the game, all about the game, play, which would serve to distract them from the other human hungers. Right? There are other human hungers that bread and circuses can never appease, never satisfy, and never even address. This was from Marcus Tullius, right? Circuros or Ciceros. Some say Ciceros. I think it's Circeros, right? Marcus Tullius Circeros. But most will tell you Cicero, all right? Okay. So what about the bread and circus? Let's look at this right here, right? Just a couple exhibits, maybe anecdotal, but any sports fans I know appear to be why capitalism still stands. What's it? Maybe anecdotal, but any sports fans I know appear to be why capitalism still stands. Okay, maybe this should be a period or something, or ... But no critical thinking, just the game. Right? Boys will be boys. But I thought they were men. Right? Boys to men. So the boys become men and then they go back to being boy again, or they really never really have become a man. Right? How do we, right, reach these millions of people? How? Juvenile, right? We're not talking about a rap artist. I mean, of course, you know, that can be and has been a name. But Juvenile, right, said, give them what? Give them bread and circuses, and they will never revolt. Do you think that they're keeping to this model? Do you think that this works? Do you think that this is true? What do you think about the whole idea of giving the people bread and circus? Do you think that it's an intentional thing that we have these seasons, like, you know, in a year, and if you say, oh, this is this sport time, or this is that sport time, or you hear everybody say like, sheeple, bye. Hey, the Super Bowl's coming up. Yo, can't wait for the Super Bowl. Yo, we're gonna go over there. We're gonna watch it over here. So from a song, yo, Super Bowl, you know, and it seems like a good thing, like camaraderie. It brings people together. You know what I mean? It's a way of, you know, socializing. All those things people say. But this Super Bowl here, wow, right? So a couple of questions we got to ask, right? We're not saying that he is, but is Kendrick Lamar, is he a controlled opposition, or are they trying to use him as a controlled opposition? I thought it was interesting. One had commented that, yo, he is a Gemini. They say he's a Gemini. And people are like, Gemini, my Gemini. You know, people into all the zodiac. They're like, yeah, I'm a Gemini, right? But I thought it was interesting that I didn't know he was a Gemini. But check this out. So is Trump a Gemini? Some people say, well, he is actually speaking against like Trump policy. So he's like using his artistry right here for political and social purposes. Well, that's a nice thought. That's a very nice thought. Well, how about this? Ancient Rome, to show that this bread and circus thing, to show that no matter how things have changed, what they say the same. Sports stadiums were built by tax dollars to house bread and circus events designed to distract the masses from the problems of the decaying empire. Right? Now, that's what happened then before. You know, look like a Statue of kind of Liberty kind of thing, right? So, like, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Because if it worked before, what makes you think it's not going to work now? Right? So if it worked well before to prevent revolts, okay, for the last 50, what is it? It was the 58th, the LVIII, right? The 58th Super Bowl, stupid bowl, right? Has there been any revolt within the last 58 years, almost 60 years? Has there been any revolt? Bread and circus, entertainment, distraction, right? See, in ancient Rome, see, here's why it says that people that don't know history are doomed or damned to repeat it. But when they repeat it, they're going to pay a higher price than the first guys pay. You're going to pay more if you didn't learn from the lesson from before, right? Sports stadiums were built by, the same thing, right? The same meme right there, but a different, how about this? Glad we've evolved, right? Past that now, right? Haven't we evolved past that pastime? But it's still a pastime, right? Pastime. What does it mean? Pastime, right? Past, in the past time. So we're spending our time now as people spent it in the past. And what is that? They were being distracted, right? Distracted. So there was a gladiatorial games. And who was the ones, right, according to ancient Roman history, who was the ones that was put on display? Wasn't it like the slaves, those who were enslaved, right? Back in ancient Rome, gladiators, others trying to work they were trying to work their freedom, right, by the performing in these gladiatorial games. Isn't that something interesting? Right? So what is new? Right? How do we have democracy in a republic? Today, we have democracy. It's a republic. Well, we have democracy. Wasn't democracy from Greece? The Greeks, right? With democracy in the modern sense. And wasn't the Rome Republicans, right? To the republic for which it stands. Just trying to make that bridge that gap, right? In our understanding. In case we never, once then we pay much attention in history. Right? Don't know nothing about history. Don't know nothing about biology. Remember that one? Yeah. God bless his soul. Right? So give them bread and circuses, and they will never, can we say ever? They will never, ever revolt. This one versus that one. So even the entertainment is bread, more bread and circuses. Right? But now check what they're doing now. Now people are trying to interpret through the bread and the circus that they give to distract the people. They're trying to see some symbolic, message or prophecy, or this is speaking to where we're at, or maybe this artist is like a prophet. Don't you think people was thinking that before? Right? How'd that work out? Bread and circuses. The fast food, definitely, the coliseums. Man, how many people? You see all those people gathered in one place? Yeah, So, this doesn't end well, right? I mean, everyone, yo. Like, if you study history, if you haven't studied history, well, you really don't know, right? You just kind of like everything is brand new, right? But we know, right? Anyone who studied history knows that this doesn't end well. It does not, right? This bread and the circus. So, looking at the past. They have like these shows where everybody get together. It's just like you have it right here in this picture here. You know what I mean? Just so you can see it. They get together, have a banquet. It's all about what? Food and socialization, food and drink and good company, right? And you see it there. Sometimes the token dark-skinned person, even in ancient Rome, right? According to some of their art, right? Now over here, same thing, sports, right? You have someone like Nero. Remember Nero? Look at Nero. Trump could be the first Trump, might as well be the last. Remember Nero? Right? Nero. He was the Roman emperor, but he also wanted to be a performer. Isn't it interesting? We have a president that actually is a performer. I mean, he's an entertainer in a sense. Let's say entertainer, but you know what I'm saying? A showman. Let's say a showman. He has that, on TV, right? Remember Nero. You remember? While he wanted to be a performer, Rome was burning. And then he did what? He blamed it on the who? He blamed it on the Christians. You remember that? He blamed it on the Christians. So the people that once bestowed commands, consulship, legions, and all else, now concerns itself no more and longs eagerly for just two things. What's the two things? Bread, food, fill the belly, you know what I mean? And circuses. So that's why I had to ask about, what you think about controlled opposition. Do you think that some of these entertainers, whether you like them or their music or not, I might like their music, I might like them as well, but I can see they're being moved and manipulated into a position of being, right, a controlled opposition. Yes, they're opposition, but yes, they are controlled. All right. All right. Now, everyone was mainly focusing on, the ones we was checking out, the whole Kendrick, the Kendrick Lamar. My sister, she asked, come on, I and I are supposed to be smarter these days. I said, but we are. That's what we are commenting on these things as we are commenting on, right? Yes, some of us are. In other words, we're more knowledgeable and therefore, in that sense, smarter, Give them bread and circuses, they would never revolt. Remember, this is the Roman poet that was active in the 1st century time, that was active in the same time, right, as we have like the New Testament, the gospel. That's why I ask, was it the Super Bowl, or is it the Super Bowl or the stupid bowl, right? Like a bowl, like you feed people, put something in a bowl, right? But here's where it comes down to, you know what I mean? We are, I and I are, but we are, and that's why we're having this discussion. That's why we're sharing this. Now, I'm not going to talk about lazy and bouncy, or Jay-Z and Beyonce, and not lazy. And I know there's a bunch of Beehive fans, but others already addressing that. And, if we are prompted, we was prompted here to touch on this. As I said, I wasn't going to address this, but I think that I had to, me thinks that we had to, right? Yeah, symbolic Babylon, right? All it is symbolic Babylon. We gotta pick up on that subject matter about symbolic Babylon, right? Symbolic Babylon. Because a lot of people want to explain, you see, when you look at this and you look at that, this means this and that color means that, and what it's really saying is such and such, and then you listen to the next person and they sometimes they might agree on certain points, but they'll say, no, it's actually saying something else. But everybody I was hearing, nobody said it's bread and circuses, right? But then I thought about something else, I thought about something else, right? I thought about one other thing right here. Just want to let that stay on the screen so people can kind of take a screenshot. They can read it, check it out, for themselves right there. Because basically, these cynical political tactics that were used, to get votes, power, or to control the masses, right, into to sway, right? A lot of these things were used to sway, these distractions, right, and entertainment, so-called, right? Things that they manipulate and they sway the mass public opinion, and they make everybody feel that I watch it, you watch it, and I say, yo, this is amazing. He's really breaking it down. He's showing the whole thing. Oh, this is explaining this. This is breaking this down. And the next person says, well, yeah, but they explain something different. So I'm thinking well, I get it. People are seeing a lot of stuff in this stuff, right? And they are discussing it, and they're sharing with others. But then I have to ask this question, right? Does any of that really matter, right? I mean, are we forgetting the first matter that really matters? The Roman satirists, Juvenal, they were almost like political comedians in a sense. Not comedians, philosophers, but some of it was kind of satirical, right? Not like a comedy, laugh, but like when one's listened to, who's that one, Dave Chappelle. Like he'll make a joke, but he's commenting and saying something deeper, so to speak. He made the scornful remark that the people long eagerly for two things, bread and circuses, but decrying the crowd-pleasing free handouts and expensive spectacles. We all can watch it for free, right? So it's not like you had to go there and spend money to see it, right? And the same thing with the Colosseum. A lot of those things were sponsored by different nobles or emperors or rulers, and it was for the people. Just the people just poured in there, right? So think about it. Back in those days, right, today people paid to go to the Super Bowl or to these different sports events, concerts. But back then, these things were provided for free, just to get the people here, and then that would go on for days. Remember, they didn't have no TV, social media, so they'd be talking about these events for days. And that would distract them from whatever else, right, that could cause them to say, yo, we need to revolt from this system of things, you know what I mean? So the free handouts, right, the expensive spectacles are still free. It's still free, right? As cynical political tactics, right, used to get votes and power are used to keep the people in a frozen state of mind. Right? Now, that no one buys our votes. Let's zoom in on this right here, just so you can see this. Now, this is juvenile again. Now that no one buys our votes, the public has long since cast off its cares. The people that once bestowed commands, consulships, I read this before, allegiance and all else, now meddles no more and longs eagerly for just two things, bread and games. So here, this translation brings out not as bread and circuses, right? The circuit, the circle, right? But bread and games, right? Enough food, entertainment, right? Enough entertainment, enough distraction. But now let's remember that how they use people who did not believe in the false gods of Rome or whatever gods, other gods the Romans believed in. Talking about like the Christians, for example, right? The Christians.